G'day folks. Well, in this video I'm going to show you how I solve the Master Pentultimate puzzle. This is a mass-produced version from MF8. Three things to say about this before I get going. First is, if you can hear a background hum, that's my heater. It's about 1 degree outside, so I've got to have some warmth in here. The second thing is, I did try and do a a layer by layer method, and working up from one cent to get a whole face done and then sort of move down the puzzle like that. Didn't get very far, and it's because there's so many pieces that are involved with every turn. So this is just going to be a piece type by piece type method instead. And the last thing is, this video is probably going to take longer than it should, and that is because this puzzle is not a well-designed puzzle. As with a few things lately from MF8, it just leaves a lot to be desired. Some of the faces turn okay and some of them just do not. As simple as that. A lot of people have had the same trouble. If you've got one of these, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So please bear with me as the thing sort of misbehaves and I struggle with some turns. As I keep saying, not my fault. Anyway, let's get into this. The first thing that I'm going to do is solve the edges. Now you can solve the edges, and by edges I mean these little pieces here, in any order you want, but I find it makes sense to solve them in some sort of systematic manner. And I also find what helps me is to start with the white center. I'm going to do the white edges first and pretend that I'm putting the white edges onto that particular center. So for example, I might just say there's a white blue, and I'll just turn that up to start off. It's next to a white center, keeps my bearings. Now to work out what has to go around it, I'm looking for a corner that has a white blue on it. For instance, that corner there you can see is white on the top, blue on the left, yellow on the right. So I go back here and I find, alright, that is where my white yellow piece needs to be. So I've got to find that white yellow edge first of all, and this is part of the issue initially, is finding these pieces. It's there, okay, so it's got to go around to this position. So I first note, okay, it's facing up the right way towards that white face. Where's it got to go? It's got to go to that position there. So let's turn this top face around one turn, and now I can actually almost move it up into, I want to move it to that position, but at the moment this is going to move up to there, which is no good. Now even if I try saying, well, let's turn it around again, could I then move it up? I could, but it's going to push that out. So an easier way is to move this piece down and then move this onto it. So all I do is turn that white yellow piece off. Everything's got to be really well aligned here, by the way, which is why sometimes it just gets so frustrating. And now I've got to go and search for, here we go, the bit that's causing the problem. So turn that slice down. Now I can move the white yellow back onto it and bring it up. So the white blue and the white yellow are in place. I then want to find another corner. There's a white yellow purple corner. So that tells me that the white purple piece goes here. There it is. So I've got to put it into that position. How can I get it into that position? Well, I might try initially. Again, I've got the same issue. If I try and turn it up to there, it's going to push that out. So I'm just going to move it off, bring that slice down, put it back on, and turn it up. Okay. Now the next one I see, I've got white, purple, green. So that tells me that's got to be white, green. That's going there, which means the other one's got to be white, red. So I can put the white green's in the white red position. So I've got the same deal here. It's facing upwards, so that means I can basically turn the white red piece off, bring its position down, put it back on, and turn it up. Now where did that white green go? White green has landed here. Now this time the white green, which needs to go in that spot, is facing downwards. So when that happens, really all we need to do is just keep turning it, and if you turn it like that, you're not going to disrupt these white edges. Turn it like that until you can manage to get it onto perhaps another face. Then we turn it around on that face, and now it's pointing upwards, and that's all we really needed. So once again, let's have a look. Turn it around so it's ready to go into that position. Now we're good. There we go. That was a frustrating first face, but that's how it always goes with this puzzle. So all the white edges are now good. We can check with the corner white on the top, green on the left, red on the right. Yep, that's great. So those white edges are done. As I said, it's fairly easy to get the white, these pieces here, but there's really no point at the moment. So I'm now going to turn it upside down and start doing the rest and just work my way upwards. That's just so it's a little bit systematic. And to do that, I'm certainly not going to show you all the edges here, but to do a few of them, for example, if we've got, this is white yellow, that's white blue, so this must be a yellow blue piece that goes here. So I'm going to locate it first. It's in another position. So because it's in another position, I can just sort of theoretically turn it up. There, let's have a look. It's got to go around here, so let's bring it over. Now that it's on that slice, bring it over to where it is and just see kind of which direction it's facing. Now, in that sort of position, I can turn it down to there. The question is it facing the correct way? And just doing that, you can see that it's not. The yellow is on the right, the blue should be on the right. So there's a couple of ways you can think about this. One way is just to involve any three edge pieces that you like if you can get it facing the right way. So these three would work, and I can carry out an edge piece series with those three pieces. As long as I don't involve the white pieces, that's fine. Another way is if I grab that piece, turn it up to the top layer, so it's on the top layer, then turn it around 2 turns and then bring it back down to the center. I will have effectively flipped the piece, and what I see now is that that yellow is on the left, so when I turn it down to there, that's placed correctly. So there's just a couple of little techniques. Either you just use a normal edge piece series or do something like that just to turn it around. So here's a blue-red which needs to go into that position, so we'll just firstly turn it down onto that middle layer, see where it is. The blue is on the right, so again that's not really any good, so I'll turn it back to the top, turn it around a couple of spots, and when I turn it down now I see that the blue is on the left. I can just keep going and throw it in, and it doesn't affect the other stuff. So we'll keep doing that. I'll cut back in when all 5 of them are done. Okay, so that last one there, the purple yellow, is now, and if we look around we see that all of these very lower equator edges are done. So that's those 5. The next ones I like to do are these ones in the middle equator here, and I like to do all of them except for any 2 together. So like those 2, not those 2, that's not helpful. What I need is these 2 so that I can use these 2 to complete the other ones up higher. And so really all this involves is just finding, at this stage we've got 3 blue edges, for instance. We've got 2 to go. We've got to know where do they go. Does it go here or here? Which colour is it? So the first one's normally the hardest one. So I've got a blue pink and a blue light green. So let's have a think. If I put the blue light green here, that would mean that this face would be light green, and so there should also be a light green yellow edge that goes there. Look at that, there is. So that tells me that blue light green goes here. So I'll grab that one first, or in fact it tells me that the other blue one goes into the other position. That's an easier one to work with at the moment, so we'll turn that around, the blue pink, and we'll see where we stand. So that's got to go here. Now, in getting these ones in, it's pretty straightforward no matter what you do, even if they're not correctly oriented. So at this stage I want to move that down to that position. So these 3 edges will do, but you can see the pink's going to go to the bottom. It's oriented not correctly. So when that happens, you just kind of think, well, I can follow any 3 edges that I can move here. That to there would then go over to here. So I want that blue pink edge to be in that position so that it comes down and the blue goes onto that face. So now I think, alright, well, I've got it there. I'll move its position up. I'll turn that blue pink edge onto its position and return, and always do the full 4 moves so that we keep all these other edges done. You can see that that blue pink has now been done. Now obviously this will not be the 2 that I keep to the end, so I might as well now go and grab that blue, whatever other colour that was, blue-green wasn't it? It's here, so it's in that middle layer. How do I get it up without disturbing stuff I've done? I can't just move this like that and leave it, but I can move it turn the blue-green off and then return the ones I've already done to keep them correctly intact. So then I'll do the same thing, turn around this blue-green to near where it's got to go. I notice it's got to go down here. So again, I could use these three, or I could use this, this, and this, because that one's not yet done. And I think, well, the cycle would be here to here, here to here, here to here. So I just carry out my 4-move edge piece series, always using 4 moves pretty much, and that blue-green is in. Now all I want to do is continue doing that right around, and just as one example as to what piece goes here, you just think, well, all the blue pieces are done. We know that's a green face, so that's got to be a green, and we know this is yellow, so that's got to be green, yellow. And that's why I said it's just the first one that's the hardest. The rest just fall into place. I'll keep doing that until I've got 2 left at the end and cut back in. Okay, well that's the last of the 8 that I'm going to do, and I've left these 2 here free. The reason that I want to do that is so I can use these to now get these edges in the sort of the upper equator and these edges on the top face. So the first ones I like to do is the upper equator, and it's just kind of the same. I'm thinking, well, if these are the 2 that I've got to work with, let's try and get the edges at the back done. So I might look over there and say, well, that's got to be yellow, pink, according to my colour scheme. So I'll firstly locate the yellow pink, which is there, and what I might do initially is put it down into this position, and I might just have a think about, in fact it doesn't really matter, just going to put it down into one of these positions first. So that means I can use this, this and this as my 3 pieces. So I'll turn that across, move it on, turn it down, and that's the only time when I don't really need to undo that 4th move. So the yellow pink is there. Now if I look at that position, that's a grey yellow piece, and the yellow of the yellow pink needs to go to the grey. So let's turn it around so it's in contention. The yellow needs to go to that grey. So I know now that if I move it like that, so I turn this grey to there and then turn the yellow on, that will correctly orientate. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Turn its position, turn the desired piece onto it, undo the position, and then definitely undo the 4 moves, because you can see all these pieces that we've already done sitting there. So that is now correctly in its position. Let's turn it back and just take stock of what's going on. You can see the pink yellow matches up with those ones there. Let's check everything else. The white edges are still in. All these other edges of these faces are all correct. So that's what we wanted, and that's why we're going to be using those 2 to get the others done. So I might then look to do the same thing with this and this. What's this one here? A pink green. Pink green piece is, I've got no idea. Where is it? Ah, there it is right there. So once again, I'll probably think about getting it. I can freely turn the top face at the moment because I haven't done any of them. I'd think about getting that pink green down into one of these slots, so let's just put it down there. Oh, in fact, it doesn't matter. I can just... what the heck. Any sequence of moves you like to get it down there. Okay, so the pink green is there. Now I've got to think that position that I want. Remember, I did turn that upper face initially, so I do need to turn that back so that I remember where that pink yellow was. So the pink green has got to go into this piece here, and the pink goes to the grey. Let's turn it around. Pink goes to the grey. Now this time I'll look at it. If I turn that grey there, the pink is going to land on the green, so that's no good. So I'll turn it one more and see if that helps me at all. Now it doesn't. So what I then think is, okay, well, for the moment I'll leave that back there, and I'm just going to think to myself, well, imagine if the pink was in that orange position. That could then go over to the grey. So that tells me I want to move that pink green piece over to there initially. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, now that hasn't affected that, and you can see now that pink can travel over to the grey, no problem, and I'll involve those 3 pieces to do it. So, turn it on, second move, undo those 2 moves, very gingerly. Now, I should have that pink green in, and I'll notice that it matches with that pink yellow, so when I turn the upper face back, and have a look around the back here. That pink yellow is still in position, the pink green is in position, and I then want to just continue doing that. So we're here now, might as well do this one, which will be the yellow blue piece. There's the two that we're working with. There's our yellow blue piece, which needs to go here. So the yellow has got to go to the purple. Again, let's put the yellow blue down in the bottom here somewhere. And I said the yellow had to go to the purple, and the purple's over there. Now, at the moment, if I turn that there, how's that looking? The yellow would go there, and then it will go to the orange, so that's no good. So once again, I've got to move that over to there. So you can probably tell that by a little pre-planning, you could probably avoid the need to now have to move it here, but I don't really care that much. Okay, so that is now ready, the yellow going to the purple, so I'll put that in. Okay, let's see what we've got. What's happened is that I've actually involved one of the pieces that I'd already done in that, so that just means I need to re-involve it back. So that yellow pink there, which belongs in that position next to that one, it has to go back there, and I've got to get the yellow onto I guess this orange part here. So I think, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm actually just going to undo those moves that I did to put that back where it should be, and then what I'm going to do after that, it takes way longer than it should. So you can see that yellow pink is now back where it should be with the pink green there. So that was actually the first one I did. So now I've got to think a little bit smarter and go, alright, well that yellow blue has got to go to this purple orange, but I don't want to involve this piece here. So instead of that piece, I'll involve this piece up the top. And that's what I should have done at the start. So those three are now fine to use. So the cycle will be from here to here to here. Okay, now that is in properly. When I turn it back, we'll have a look and we'll see that, and you can just see here, one of the issues with this, it's come out of its railing, so I'm going to take a little bit of time off camera here to get it back in. But I've now got those three pieces. That was the first one I did, that was the one next to that, that was the other one. So they're in. Bear with me, I'll be back in a tick. Okay, and that is one of the things I'm talking about, the frustrations of this puzzle. You can see how difficult it is to turn as it is, and then stuff like that happens as well. You just about get to the point of saying, what is the use of doing this puzzle? But we will continue. So we've now got that piece, and that piece in, leaves us these two at the front here. Now, times I've found it's actually helpful to leave those two until closer to the end. I'm not sure, I might just get them done. So this one here is the other blue piece, which is not a blue-grey, so it must be that blue-orange there. So that blue of the blue-orange has to go to the grey. And if I just think about that, oh no, it doesn't, it has to go to the blue. My apologies. So again, I'm going to first get the blue down to here. Now I might just think a little bit harder here. If the blue is on that position there, when I turn it back, can I get the blue across to there? Yeah, I can, because that'll go like that. So that's actually a good move to do. So I'll cycle the pieces that way. Now, if this is frustrating for you to watch, I assure you, it's far more frustrating trying to keep all this together, not lose my place, and simultaneously be really annoyed with the cube. That is quite hard to do. Okay, so the blue, where does it have to go? I said it had to go to that position, so let's have a look and see if we can do that fairly easily. Actually, so that's not going to work. I don't think. What will work, yeah, alright, is if I move it over to here. So let's do that. And now I can just transfer that blue over to there, perhaps using this piece as well. Okay, so finally that blue piece is where it should be. It's telling me, of course, therefore, that this must be the orange face, and so this piece must be the orange-green, which is that piece there, and of course it's facing the wrong way. So let me think how we can get around this. If the orange goes up there, in fact I think initially I'll just move the orange up to the top face. Okay. Now I know that I've got to get the orange to that yellow. And at the moment that's not going to work, so what I'll then try and do is probably, because I think if I move it down here, that would actually be in a good position, except for the fact that I've already used, I don't really want to be using that piece. However, there is something else that I can do to make this last one a little bit easier. So I am going to move it down to this position. I suppose this is where the thinking through this puzzle comes into play. Now I notice that I've got the orange there. I need a different piece there than that piece in order to move it over to here. I don't want to involve that piece. So all I'm going to do, because these two are sitting on that slice, I'm just going to turn this face until something up here has gone down to that position. For instance, that one there. So I can now use this piece, which by the way hasn't been done because that's the last piece here which I'm using. I can now involve that piece by getting the orange-green over to there. So let's do that. Undo those moves. Now be very careful to turn this back to where it was. We do a little bit of a stock take. Starting at the white edges, they all look good. Every face around here except for those two pieces should be good. In fact, that yellow-orange is now in. Yeah, they all look fantastic. Across the top, or the upper equator, they also look all in. So these are the last two pieces that I now have to deal with these greys on the top. And so once again, I've been in two minds about which ones to do first. I think from memory, I've actually found it a little bit easier if I get these two done first, so I'm going to attempt to do them. The first one is this one here, the grey-green. Now, I want the grey to be on top, so initially, what am I going to do? Now, I think initially I'm going to move that piece probably over to, let's just see if that's going to work. I would prefer to move it over to here, I reckon, so it's next to it. So the grey is on the top face and it's next to the position that it needs to go. So I can just involve those three pieces. Okay. Now that grey's next to it. Now I can move it across to there just by turning its position up, moving it on, aligning and undoing. So the grey-green is in. This one should be the grey-blue, which is down there. Now once again, where do I want this to be? If the grey's there, it comes up to there. What I can do, if this is going to work, I can think, well, that's the position that it's got to be. If I was to turn that around to the back face, the grey would end up in its correct position. I would be involving that pink-orange piece, or the purple-orange piece, which I have not yet done. So that's fantastic. That's exactly what I want to do. So I'm now doing a cycle like that. One turn, 10 seconds later. Finish the 4 moves. Okay. Turn this thing back into position. Let's see what we've got. That grey-green is there, that grey-blue is there. Great. We've also got had that one done. We've magically got both of these ones done, I think. So we've actually got all of them done except these last 3 grey pieces. So let's have a look where they need to go. That's got to go there. Grey, pink has got to go to there. And that grey-yellow has got to go to there. Well, I can see that the grey-pink will turn correctly onto that position. The problem that I have is I really need, in order for this to work, I need one of these pieces to be flipped around, because at the moment, if the grey-orange turns to there, the grey will be on the orange face. That's no good. So the sort of thing that I'm thinking is just about turning one of these around in its place, but leaving the other 2 where they are. And in terms of how to accomplish this without completely stuffing it up, the first thing to notice is that the movement of the pieces that I want, if that grey-orange was flipped in its position, I'd want to turn that to there, then that up to there. That's what I've got to remember. So the movement is this and then this at the end, right? But that's after all the setups. So the setups, I want to basically turn that onto there and then move it around so that it's like that. If I do that, the first thing is it's going to move that one out of position, so I've got to take care of that. And the second thing is when I turn it up on this face, it's going to move that out of position. So my setups are to get rid of these 2 pieces out of the way first. So I'm going to do 2 turns of that face, this one here, to get them right out of the way. Now I'm going to turn that 1 turn down, and here it is, and I want to move it 1, 2, 3 turns clockwise, and then bring my other 2 pieces, theoretically. You can see it's come out again. Welcome to my world. Let me get that back into its position. Okay, I think it's back. You have no idea how frustrating this puzzle is. I've sort of tried to keep my bearings with knowing that that's where the grey-orange is. So let's now turn this back 2 turns. That all looks okay. There's my other 2 pieces there. If this seems long and drawn out, it is. Can't really do much about it. So I'm now ready. I've just got to remember all those setups at the end. I'm now ready to cycle my 3 last pieces around. Let's go ahead and do that. Just aligning things first. Alright, the cycle is complete. And what you can see from that firstly is that the grey-orange is correctly in. You can see it's on the orange face, and this grey-pink is correctly in. All I have to do now is turn this grey-yellow around, which will also put back all the other edges that are out. So what did I do? I turned them off with 2 turns. I did turn this around 3 turns clockwise, so that's got to go 1, 2, 3 anti-clockwise. Then I had to bring it up, and you'll see now that grey is on the top face, and finally bring back those other 2. With any luck, and yeah, there's a bit of luck there because I didn't forget all that, all of these edges are now done. That really is an annoying part of the solve. Oh, what the heck, the whole solve is annoying. But those edges are done. It looks as though everything is intact. And what I mean by some faces turning really well is that. Look at that, it's beautiful. If they were all like that, there'd be no problem at all. But of course they're not. Alright, so that completes the edges. The next stage of the solve that we're looking at is the centres. And to have a look at how centres move, let me show you something on a solved puzzle. Well, we're going to start with the pentagon, the up face pentagon pointing upwards, points going there. And we're going to involve, just do a very simple sequence, and it's the corner piece series. So that's my up turn, and I'll do my right turn, my right face turn, then my up prime. And now, instead of doing my left face turn, I'm going to do a down left turn, or whatever you call that, back left or something. Now I'm going to continue, up, right, towards me, up prime, and now return that lower face like that. Now, what we see is, firstly, that all the edges that were there are still exactly where they should be. So this is the red face, and those red edges are all still there. All the other faces, the edges are intact. It's moved around all other pieces, but what it has done is three-cycled these centres. So the white centre has gone there, green centre has gone there, red centre has gone there. Sure, it's moved around corners and these other pieces as well, but that doesn't matter because we're not going to do them yet. We're just doing the centres. What's important is that it has not disrupted any edges. So we can cycle them that way, we can cycle them that way using the mirror. That's all we're going to do to get the centres done. Now, because the centre movement does not affect the edges in any way, that's why we're doing it after the edges, I just need to find any centre that can move to an adjacent spot really. And again, I like to do it systematically, so we know the white centre is already in. We can now be guided by the colours of the edges, so that's got to be the green centre. So I'll look at it and go, well, that's actually right next door, so that's a good thing to do. And again, if I'm holding, let's think about this, if I'm holding it with the pentagon facing upwards, I know the green's going to go there, the blue's going to come here, grey's going to go up to there. So that's a good enough movement. All I care about is getting one centre in. So I'll just orient the puzzle correctly and carry out the routine, which as per usual will probably be easier said than done. Now this is where I've got to turn the lower left. Now complete. Okay, now what can we see from that? That green centre has gone in to there, the white centre is still where it was, so all I'm going to do is continue doing exactly that, maybe until I get down to the last couple. Alright, well I've just done the bottom 5 around the white face. Having a look up here, we've got the orange done and I've got the pink done. Now what I'd really like is to leave myself the last 3 to do right next to each other, so I'm going to try and do this green one over here. Now in order to put the green in, I'm just going to move it up to the top here, which will also put that blue centre over here. So that's just one setup move that I'll need to remember at the end, which shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Now the green is coming down this way. In other words, if I hold the puzzle like this, normally the green would go to that way. So I want to do a mirror corner piece series here, and so I want to hold it with this face as the upper face, moving around that way. So to do the mirror, I'm turning this way first, and it's the left away. Very, very easy to lose your way just because of the crappy turning of this puzzle. Okay, now that should be done, and I can't even remember what I was doing. What was I doing? Got absolutely no idea. Let's see if I can turn back. I think it was that blue face that I had to turn back first of all. So let's turn that back and just see if I actually accomplished anything then or not. I had, that's right, yep, I had the orange in and the pink in, and I was trying to get the green in, which it looks like I've done. So that should leave me these 3 last centres to do. And so all I have to do now is think, well, they're going to 3-cycle around, and because the edges are all in, they're guaranteed to 3-cycle around. That's how we know. Not going to be left with a swap or anything like that. So again, I'll just place it in this position and say, yep, that's the movement I want. So it's a normal corner piece series here. The yellow will go down to there. So last one. Last turn coming up, it should be this one here. Alright, let's have a look around. It now looks as though all of the centres are correctly positioned, and that certainly completes that second stage of the solve. Well, what we're going to start out doing is 3 of these. Up, up, down, down. That's one of them, and you'll notice that each time I've done an up, it's done 2 turns. So that's one of them. There's 2. And there's 3, finally, in keeping with the turning of this puzzle. You'll notice that not much seems to have changed. There's clearly a different corner there. And when we look on the back, there's 3 other corners here that have moved. So what we're going to do now is just do a front turn or an upturn, whatever you want to call this face, clockwise. And that's just going to affect that corner on that face. Now we're going to repeat what we just did. 3 up, up, down, downs. Got to be very careful here. This is pretty standard. There's 2 of them. And there's the 3rd. Having done that, we'll undo that front or that up clockwise turn, and let's see what's happened. What we've got is, over the whole puzzle, just 3 corners involved. That one, and that one. Nothing else has been touched. If we look closely, we can see that the pink, grey, yellow has come from here, and it's just kind of rolled straight up the face. So that same pink colour has landed on that face. The piece that was here, the pink, green, grey, is now at the top. And what we'll notice is that the colour on this face here is the same as on the top there. You can see that. And this piece, the white, blue, yellow, has come down to the bottom. What do we notice? The blue colour here has just stayed on the top. So we can perform the mirror as well by moving them this way. So that's all we need to do. The corners, it's a fairly simple sequence, but it is a little bit tedious. That's what we're going to use. Okay, well, looking at that, it tells us that what we need is to find any old corner that can sort of move one space along on its face. In other words, if I was holding the face like that with a downwards pointing pentagon, that corner moving to there or that corner moving to there. Doesn't matter which, I can use either. So that's the first thing to look for, is do I have one of them? The blue, white, yellow is going to there. Sometimes the hardest thing is just actually locating it, but it looks as if we've found one here. This white, yellow, purple, if you look at it, it needs to cycle over to there. So if we could just turn that whole face, we would see that that white, purple, yellow corner would be in the correct position. Now, this is the most annoying stage of the solve, in my opinion, because there's so many of these things to do. I do like the corners done before these parts because I find it much easier to see what I'm doing with these parts. So both the corners and the algorithm that I'm going to show you for these parts are pure algorithms, so you can do them in any order you like, but I'm going to do the corners first. So once I've found one that's got to go over to there, I think great, and the colour stays the same as you saw, so that's going to go to there. What I normally try and do is see if I can possibly get the other corner, which is going to live up here, to land down correctly to that position. And I know that the colour that I want to go here has to be seen on that top face there. So in other words, I'm looking for the white, blue, yellow corner. And if it's easy enough to put in that position to start with, I'm going to do it. But it's probably not going to be easy enough. The first thing, of course, is to find it. It's down here, so I'm guessing it's going to be pretty tricky to get it up to there. And remember my setup moves. Is it possible? If I do 2 turns like that, I don't think it's going to go to there. What about if I do a 3rd turn? I also don't think. So there's no point persisting with that. It's going to be too tricky to undo the setup move. So all I'm going to be is happy with getting that one into its place. And this is why these things take so long. So I know that it's going to there. I just checked that the one in here is not already done, and I'm ready to go. So because it's going this direction, I'm going to turn a front face in the middle. Okay, that's done. We can now do a front anti-clockwise turn, and lo and behold, that white, pink, yellow corner has now been placed in its correct position. Just checking, we'll see that all of the centers and all of the edges are still exactly where they should be. So it's pretty simple to carry out. It's just very long-winded, and particularly because of the nature of this puzzle, it does take far longer than it really should. So I'm most definitely not going to be doing all the corners. What I'm going to do is just have a quick look now for another one that I might do, perhaps with a bit of a setup, and then cut back in at the end, because you know exactly how to do it, and it doesn't matter which you do. So let's have a look and see if we can find something here. Alright, well what I've got here is a yellow, green, blue corner. It needs to cycle around 2 spots up to here. So I can deal with that, and I'll show you how. But the better thing is that this corner, yellow, pink, green, grey, happens to be sitting up the top in its correct position and its correct orientation. So I'm going to do 2 at once. So how do I make this go to there? Well, I want to move that corner around to that position before we start. So to do that, I'll set up by turning this bottom corner off by 2 turns. Now turn this face around and bring it back, and now you'll see that that is ready to go to that position. So from here it's just a matter of carrying out the algorithm, which I'll now do. Okay, just undo that last turn, and what we'll see first of all is that that yellow, blue, pink is actually in its position now, and this yellow, pink, grey is correctly in its position. But of course we had some setups to do, so we need to now undo them. Turn that off twice, move that face back, and bring it back. Now let's have a look. Yep, that's in position, and all the edges and centers are still in position. So that's the kind of thing we're doing. We're just looking for setups and ways to maybe get 2 done at once, but it's a very simple sequence. It's just pretty tedious. I'm going to keep knocking these through, and I'm going to cut back in when I've got probably 4 or 5 left to go, down to the business end of things. Well, I'm down to the last 4 corners. Now I don't want to give the impression that I just whipped through all those corners. It took quite a while. Part of that is because of the poor turning of the puzzle, and part of it is just finding the right things to do. This is an interesting situation. I've cut back in now. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces left to go. There's that red, white, blue up there, which belongs here. You'll notice the white, red, green is actually in its position but twisted, and the other 2 are not in their positions, the other 3 I should say. And so realistically what I'd like to do now is to place 1 of the pieces, not 2. I just want to place 1 so that I'm left with a 3 cycle. I also want to try and get this one out of its position. So that's my goal. What I've noticed is that the piece up the top here, which is not done, that blue, white, red piece belongs down here, but you can see that it's the wrong colour. It's got the blue on the top, needs to have the white on the top to come down here. These 2 are just sitting here waiting, so I can use these. If I could involve that one, I could get that out of its position as well. So my only real setup here is, and by the way, it took me quite a while to work this through and think it out, I'm really not a genius, is to try and rotate this piece and get the white up to here. Fortunately, that is a fairly easy thing to do if I've not got to move anything else. So what I'm thinking is the actual cycle, because I'm going this way, it's a front prime turn in the middle of it all. How do I get the white here? Well, all I need to do is make sure everything's aligned first. I turn it down like that and then bring it up. And you can see now that that white piece is where it should be. And the setups, the undoing, all I have to really remember is to turn it back down 1 corner below from where it came. If I do that, then I should easily be able to see, oh hang on, that face, that's got to come over here. So that's my 2 setup turns. That's one of the easier setups you'll find. I'm just trying to place that piece into here, so cycling like that. Now I'll carry out the cycle and see what happens at the end. And now just do the front turn to finish that off. Now should just have the 2 setup moves. You can see that white, red, blue has indeed been placed, which is fantastic. Just the 2 setup moves, and I had to remember to move that back to there first of all. And now I can see the yellows have to go to here, So bring that back. Now all the edges and centres should be back together. Almost all of the corners are done. I should now be left with a 3 cycle. There's one of them. There's a second. And the other one's going to be up here. So we are down to the last 3 pieces. I've got no idea how I'm going to do this. I'm just going to have a quick look to see where the pieces actually are. So the cycle direction is the red, blue, pink has got to come down here. Now fortunately the red is on the correct face, so I know that I can move that around if I need to. The white, green, red, yeah, so this is the hardest probably part of these corners, just from the setups at the end. Pen and paper may be involved, but what I think now is, alright, well I know if I hold it like this, I've got the white, the red, blue, pink to go there, so I know that I can turn that around to that position. My next question is that I'll need to set up the third piece, which will be the red, green, white, up into that position correctly coloured. So I know if this goes to there correctly oriented and the other one goes to here correctly oriented, then this one must go to its third piece. So where is that red, white, green? Down there. So my question is, can I bring that up to that position without knocking out the others? So it's just there. Let's firstly just attempt. What can we do? Turn it like that. Now that's not quite in the correct position. What if I do it another turn like that? And that's actually looking more promising, because I think the red will now come up here. Oh, that looks very nice. Okay, so all I've done... Okay, so in thinking this through, I would say, well, I know that I can turn the back face 2 turns and then just bring that red, white, green piece up there so the red is on the top, and you can see that is now perfectly positioned to come down to here. Now how did I undo that? Well, I don't really need to remember those 2 turns on the back face, that should be obvious, so it's just bringing that corner back to the very down corner position first, like that. So I'm happy with that. Now my task is to make sure that this corner is going to turn onto that position. Fortunately, when we do this setup and bring this around, it does not affect the corner at the back. So really, I say all I got to do, but I've just got to remember the order of the setups that I've done. So let's do the standard thing. We'll move that off 2 turns. Turn around this face, and you can see that's not going to move as I do that. And then bring it back 2 turns. Now what we've got, the red, blue, pink is going to go to there correctly. That orange, blue, purple will come up to the top here, and you can kind of see the orange and the purple. That's going to orient correctly, and this one will come down. So I've done my setups. All I need to do now is actually carry out the sequence. I'm going this direction, so it's a front prime turn in the middle. Wish me luck. Alright, just finishing that turn. The very good news is that corner looks good. Now, I've just got to remember to undo the setups in the correct order that they happened. Just having a quick look at this corner up here. It looks as though the corner's wrongly oriented. I think we'll find that that'll be okay at the end. So first of all, let's undo these setups. Here we go. That one's good. That one's good. Now, the last thing I had to do was undo these setups at the back, and I think from memory I turned that back in that direction. And the last thing is this back here. Now, what I've just seen here is that that single corner is out. Now, let me explain. I wondered if that would happen because there was a time, as I was using this before this video, and there is the dodgy corner. I'll just actually double check that no other corners are done. I think everything else is exactly where it should be. Just having a quick look around. Yeah, everything else looks good. Now, this thing did actually come apart, and you kind of saw it come off its rails a couple of times in this solve. Well, it did it so that it came apart, and I wasn't happy with that, and a few corners came out. I had to put them back in to the best of my memory. Obviously this one here, I put that in, twisted one around. So it's impossible for this single corner to be left twisted. So I know that that's from putting it back in. Ordinarily, if this thing was a proper puzzle and it worked, it didn't come apart all the time, that would now be oriented correctly. I'm just going to quickly fix that up manually and then cut back in. Okay, and that corner has been dealt with. As I say, that is not possible to get if your puzzle doesn't fall apart, but if it does and you put the corners back in wrong, it's more than possible. So that completes the corners, the most tedious part. The last stage is to do these pieces here. I don't know what they're called, but you can see that that yellow face requires all of them to be in. This grey face has already got one there. Now let me show you a sequence that I've come up with that is quite a bit easier than the one we've just used, and it uses a slice move. Let's have a look on a solved puzzle. Alright, so what we're going to do is start with a downward pointing pentagon like that, so the point's at the bottom here, not at the top. And we're going to do left 2 up, right 2 up, left 2 down, right 2 down. Having done that, I'm now going to turn this slice, just that slice, down to that position. So I've just moved that slice there. Now I'm going to undo. So right 2 up, left 2 up, right 2 down, left 2 down, and then return that slice to where it was. Let us take stock. It looks as though only 3 pieces have been moved. And in fact, that's exactly what's happened. That green has come from there, flipped over to there. The yellow has gone up to there, and this red piece has come down to there. That is super cool. A pure 3 cycle for these pieces. Now that means that with those moves you can either cycle them in that direction, you can cycle them going backwards if you do the slice turn first. You can also cycle them in that direction by doing the mirror of that series, and I'll make sure I show that during the solve. So there's a lot of options here for moving around those pieces. That's how you get them done. Okay, so that being the case, what we know is that we're looking for a piece that's next to its face, ideally. So for instance, that red piece can go across to there. I also know that the third piece is this one up here, and you can see how that connects with the slice. So ideally, I know that that piece there is going to come down to here, so I'd like that to be a pink piece if I can make it to be a pink piece easily. And the first way I can do that is to try turning this upper face to put a pink piece in there. I guess the other thing I could do would be try doing this, and I don't find any pink pieces that I could see there. So in this case I'm just going to go for one of these things. It's fairly straightforward to do it, just got to remember what's going on. So downward pointing pentagon, and just a single edge piece series, and then what we want to do is turn the right slice anti-clockwise. In other words, bring this slice down that way. And to do that, I'll turn it down and move the other part up. And then we want to undo. So we started with the left, so we're going to undo by turning up the right. And then bringing back that right slice, like so, and we can see that that red piece that was there has gone over to here. The yellow piece that was up there has come down there, and that other yellow piece is up here. You can also see all the rest of the puzzle is completely intact, so that's a pure cycle. It just cycles those 3 pieces, and there's not a whole lot more to say about that. Let's try one with the mirror, if we can find one. So for instance, this one, this time the green needs to come across here, that light green, it's going that direction. And so the piece is going to be up here, and I'd like that to be a dark blue piece if I could, or else I'd like it to be the pink face. I can't manage the pink face. What about a dark blue piece? I might actually be in luck here. So the green's going across to there. I want a dark blue piece there. Let's just go the long way. I reckon that's going to put that dark blue piece right where we want it to come down and solve this one as well. So we'll get 2 of them done. The only difference, we started with the left face going up, so this time we're going to start with the right face, and instead of bringing this slice down, we'll bring this slice down when we do it. So let's carry that out. Okay, that's the edge piece series done. Now bringing this down, just that slice. And then undo. So you remember we went right up, right down. So to undo, we've got to bring the left up first. And then return that slice from whence it came. And what we should see is that that blue has landed there, the green's gone where we want it to go. And so the only other thing to do is those setups, everything else is back where it should be, and that's it. It's a fairly easy sequence. It's just a matter of actually finding the pieces. I'm going to whip through quite a few and come back perhaps when I'm down to the last 3 or 4. And here I am with 4 pieces remaining: the white, the yellow, the purple, and this green. That's it. And it's taken quite a while. So what it looks like here is that we've got a 4 cycle, so the white to there, the green to there, the yellow to there, and the purple back to here. Fortunately, with this puzzle, because there's multiple pieces of the same colour, we don't really, and it's not going to be a problem, and we won't have any situations like that corner that was flipped or misoriented. So what I'm going to do here first of all is try and get 2 of these pieces next to each other, and if I move that green up to there, you can see those 2 are ready and they're next to each other at the bottom of a downward facing pentagon. So that's cool. Neither of them go where they should go. So I know that another piece, if I bring it up to this sort of region, will work. And both of the other pieces are down here. So what I'm going to do, that's an easy enough move to remember. So I'm just going to keep turning this up until one of them happens to be in that top layer, and it's the white one. That also is easy enough to remember. In fact, I haven't crossed anything over yet, so that'll be fine to get that back when it's done. So now I've just got to think, well, I want the white, or where is it going to be? Is it going to be on this one or this one? Looks like it's going to be around here. So the only thing I really need to worry about is 2 turns of the upper face anti-clockwise to get myself back. So now I look and see what direction the pieces are going. The purple to the green to the white is the direction that my cycle does. I want it to go in the opposite direction. And so the only thing I need to do for that is, instead of doing this slice turn halfway through, I'm going to do the slice turn at the start. And so I'm still doing the left up first. So instead of doing this down in the middle, I'm going to start with this, bring it down there and do the edge piece series. And then now I'll bring it back and undo my edge piece series. Okay, now that should be done. I just need to, you can see the white's in. I just need to bring back my 2 upper face turns, and then I said it should be fairly simple. So that goes there. It was 3 turns back to here. Great, so that is done. And it looks like it's placed one of the others as well. Must have placed one of them. So I'm just left with what appears to be a swap for my last 3 cycle, but of course I can just involve another green or another pale yellow as I need to. So the first thing that I want to do is find out, can I easily get one of these next to the other one? It doesn't look like I can. I'm turning it up like that, it's not going to... what about this? Nah, that's not good either. So now I'm going to just think about doing something as follows. Going to use another of the pieces that I've got. So for example, what if I brought that yellow up to there? That would have 2 there, and I then need to grab that other green and move it up to the top and see if that worked. So this is a little bit trickier because I've just moved the slice, so the colours aren't as easy to see. Let's just see if I can get that green up to the top. It's going to be, looks like it's not going to quite go where I need it to go. So I'm going to abandon that line of thought and try something else. Now we had that pale yellow piece there. So what if, alright, what if we bring that down to there so it's a bit closer? So now I've got those two next to each other, and I've got this green that needs to go up to the top. I think I should be able to do that. There it is, up to the top layer there. So I've involved a third piece of the same colour. There's the dodgy one, there's the dodgy one. All I need to do is think that that green, when it's up the top, has got to come down to this piece here. So I'm going to do 2 turns of my, I don't know what I'd call that, outer left face. So I need to undo this. I need to do 2 clockwise turns of my outer left face, and then 1 clockwise turn of my upper face. Now I've got them in the cycling position. Let's just undo those setups so you see what I mean. 1 clockwise turn, 2 clockwise, and then the last thing to do would just be, what did I do? That there. Okay, easy. So they're in cycling position. I want the pieces to go, I want that green to go down there. This will then go to there, and that yellow will come to there. That's perfect. So it's just the standard ordinary cycle. I'm going to do this one especially carefully. I really don't want to stuff it up now. Okay, bring that down, halfway there. Now return it. It looks like it's all over the shop, so I'm just going on faith here that it's going to work out. So I had to do 1 clockwise turn and then 2 of these outer face turns, and then bring that back, and hopefully, that's brilliant. Okay, that is actually the first time I've solved this puzzle. I knew how to solve it, just hadn't actually done it yet. So that's my method for doing it. I hope it helps. It is a bit of a pain in the neck of a puzzle, but there it is, the Master Pentultimate.